Daniel Greene has kind of gotten back to just talking about the fantasy news like he always has. If we remember, we covered the weird drama going around with another YouTuber earlier this year, and of course that blew up in her face, and he just went back to business as usual. But part of that business as usual has not been covering George R.R. Martin's updates on the Winds of Winter, which of course there's been plenty, and we've made up our own updates as we've gone along because there's been some silly things he's done this last year other than working on the Winds of Winter. It's so funny because it's very, very clear he's not going to do it. And Daniel Greene's comments here are absolutely correct. So I do want to cover them and check this out. This is the real fantasy news, my friends. That's right. I don't think, can you even copyright that phrase? I don't think you can. I think I could just say it. The fantasy news. Yes. And enjoy it ourselves. Thank you for being here. Please hit the like and subscribe button. I'm a fantasy writer myself, and I would love for you to check out my work. This is The Demon's Eye. And while it's not an epic fantasy, it's not a George R.R. Martin thing, this is way more like the past, like classic fantasies that you'd get back in the day. And I actually just read Fritz Lieber's Swords and Deviltry. I don't know if you guys have read this before, but like I read this book and I was like, wow, this is better than Conan. And I know that might be a heresy to some. Don't get too outraged at me, please. Don't leave angry comments. But wow, this was such a cool thing to read. And it's 3 short stories that kind of like get into one. I mean, they're not really designed as one story, but it's a origin story of one character, origin story of another character, and then they come together like by crazy random happenstance and end up having a major deal. And I usually don't like character deaths, and there's some big ones in this. I won't spoil it if you haven't read it. I'm not spoiling a book from like 1939 or whatever. Funny. But yes, those character deaths were really impactful, and I was like, whoa. And I kind of don't like that happened, but I see why he did it, and it was very impactful as a storyline. So I'm trying to bring that back. So check this out in the description below. It's available on ebook and paperback. It'll be up on audiobook within the next couple of weeks, I believe, as well. Thank you guys so much for reading. Really appreciate you. It helps support the channel a lot, and you guys are amazing out there. So yes, you like how I slid a like classic book review into like a drama topic? Yes, that's what I do here. I want to talk about books, but the algo does not like it, my friends. So let's talk about George R.R. Martin because that's what it does like. As we know, George R.R. Martin is a bajillion years late on The Winds of Winter, his finish up of A Song of Ice and Fire, and he's not doing it. And I've been saying he's not doing it for a long time, and so have a lot of other people. So it's not like it's a special insight on this. But now, like, this is where it's really interesting to me because Daniel Greene really shills for mainstream popular things. Like he was all in on a Game of Thrones as a TV show, House of the Dragon, even the Wheel of Time TV show. He's like all in on it, even though like that's a terrible bastardization of Robert Jordan's epic. It's like the guy's got to be rolling in his grave. I can't believe that show is even still on the air. But hey, there you go. So, like I said, major mainstream shill, and even he's throwing shade at George R.R. Martin now. Pretty funny. Now, I noticed this, too, with the Neil Gaiman situation. Like, same thing. Like, he was very silent on it like everybody else was, and then once it became cool to, like, crap on Neil Gaiman, like, he was there and, like, ready to, like, slide in there. So this is what bigger channels do, to be honest. They wait for the safe takes, and then they finally do it, like, later on. And so that's what we don't do here. I give my honest takes right away, and, of course, we're mega-based over here, all about independence works, and on top of that, of course, the classics that get ignored these days, like this. Nobody talks about this anymore. Why is that? Oh, well. So this is what he said about this. I guess we'll go into the background. George R.R. Martin's an epic fantasy writer. You know who he is. You clicked on this video. And, of course, he started his book series and hasn't delivered a book in, is it like 12 years now that he's late? Something like that, around there. He's 76 years old now, so it's definitely not happening. And, at this point, writers age, and when they age, they lose their fastball. They really do. And when you want to conclude something that's this big, you really have to be on top of it. You have to dial it in 100%. Otherwise, it's going to be a massive problem. We've seen this with a lot of series. They always kind of go downhill in the later years of a writer's life. It's just how it goes. And so that's what Terry Brooks did. He retired and passed on his Shannara to Delilah Dawson. I think that was a bad move. And by the way, from what I hear from insiders, that was chosen by the publisher, not by Terry Brooks. Terry Brooks went along with it, but it was not his choice. It was the publisher's choice because they wanted to push Delilah Dawson. There's some good industry gossip for you there. George R. R. Martin's probably going to be in a similar state, and that's what Daniel Greene kind of gets into. So instead of working on it, because he's not at all, and here's the next thing. He's got so many perspective characters now, it's impossible to wrap it up. This would not be one book. So whoever writes it is going to have to write 3-4 books to wrap it up, much like Brandon Sanderson did with the final Wheel of Time. So that's what we will see coming out of this whenever it happens, which is probably going to be after Martin's death, whenever that is. So instead of working on it, what he's been doing is he's blamed it on, I've been busy with Hollywood projects, of course. Then on top of that, he opened a bar, and it's like event center and bar. It's like, what? Now you're running a bar? Then he penned a physics paper. I'm serious. Did a co-authorship of a physics academic paper. Anything other than work on this is what he's been doing. Last year, he blamed toxic fans, saying that it's just not fun anymore. Then also blamed fascism because of Donald Trump. And so, this guy will do anything other than work on his book is what it comes down to. And it's for the reasons I said. Too many perspective characters, so there's no way to wrap it up well. And then, of course, he's lost his fastball, like I said. And there's a third reason, too, which is, I believe, and this is, again, just conjecture. I don't have any inside information on this, but I'm guessing the TV show ending for A Game of Thrones was the ending he intended for the books. Fans didn't like it. It was rejected. They thought it was terrible. They were not happy with the way that went down, and he didn't have another better ending. So that was the end of that. And of course, he set up a bad ending because the books have just gone off the rails with just killing all the likable characters anyway, in my opinion. That's why I stopped reading them after book 3. But this is the truth. He just hasn't gotten an ending because that was the ending. It didn't work out well, and now there's no way for him to replicate something on a level that is the writing that he did in his early days, and that's my thoughts. So this is what Daniel Greene says about it, and I kind of agree with him on this. And he says, I just want to go ahead and start off in this fantasy news, by addressing question I've repeatedly gotten recently. Why aren't you covering the updates of Winds of Winter by George R. R. Martin? Like when he called it the curse of his life, etc., because I don't think we're ever going to get it. Yes. I've been doing this job for over 7 years now, he says. And I think this first episode of Fantasy News wasn't long after that. I think I've been teased with the Winds of Winter since then, and there's never been a substantial update. Yes, that's correct. There's never been a substantial update in at least 7 years. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Keep in mind, when we got the last book of A Song of Ice and Fire about half of my life ago, 15 years, George R. R. Martin is now 76, 77, I believe he's 76. Now, he doesn't remember all the things he needs to write the next entry. That's the hard part. I mean, even doing a series on the shorter side, when I have to go back and have to read a book, I mean, it's a lot. The longer series get, the worse it gets, and that's the problem with epic fantasy, is you have so many details. It's really tough. You have to be kind of borderline autistic to do it, I think. Don't quote me on that. Don't cancel me. Thank you. All right. I've been canceled enough this year. So at least not without doing a tremendous amount of work to refresh himself. He's also working on these big, exciting Hollywood projects, which he shouldn't be doing. He should be finishing this. The only reason I personally believe, allegedly, in my opinion, George R. R. Martin doesn't come out and say, hey, I'm not doing it, is because it would kill the franchise, or at least tremendously devalue it further than season 7 and 8 of Game of Thrones already did. It did destroy the franchise. Pretty interesting. This is interesting from a business perspective. He wants House of the Dragon to keep going. He wants more spin-offs to keep going. He wants it to be out there as a property. And so, yes, just having that eventually I'm going to finish mythos out there, it might be a reason just to say he's not working on it. This is pretty good, insightful deal from Daniel Greene right here. There is a chance that another established writer could be tapped to finish the series. Yeah, that happened with Wheel of Time, currently happening with Berserk. Forgot that was happening with Berserk. That's still a very real thing. And basically anyone who's talented enough to take over A Song of Ice and Fire has their own stuff going on and may just not want to dedicate many years of their life to writing the next 2 books, A Song of Ice and Fire. Yeah, that's very true right there. And interesting stuff. But hey, I think ChatGPT is up to the challenge. And I think eventually, as that gets better, that'll be the way to finish it. I know George R. R. Martin's suing them, which is pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, what happens, what you'll really need as AI gets better to do this is a fan who really is really dedicated to A Song of Ice and Fire. And there's fans out there that just love it, that know every detail. Because the AI systems really don't know the details, and that person can make a outline and use it with AI to come up with an ending that would be satisfying, and then plug those details in, make sure AI gets edited and uses it, actually plug in George R. R. Martin's writing style so that it can copy that as well. And you could probably come up with a satisfying ending way better than George R. R. Martin's going to be able to do at this juncture in his life. Yeah, that's my hot take. Interesting stuff right there. So cool. I liked this take by Daniel Greene, and like I said, pretty insightful on the thought about the property and what it means. Leave a comment down below with what you think about this. Do you agree that we're never going to get that book? Hit the like and subscribe button. Definitely check out Swords and Deviltry. What a great book. My gosh, this is so much better than anything George R. R. Martin's ever written, and it deserves a lot of recognition. And if you like classic sword and sorcery, check out The Demon's Eye, which is my new book, guys. It's in the description below. Really appreciate you guys for being here and for supporting the channel. We'll be back soon.